nothing better to do. They'll talk about the weather and politics. Tell some random stories just for kicks. It's Mornings in the Kitchen with the Dough 5-0. It's Mornings in the Kitchen with the Dough and 5-0.
All right. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Lee.
How you doing today?
I'm fine.
You still upright and mobile after you're about what halfway through your rough week of your extra donut orders, right?
We're not even halfway. I've got
halfway.
2.5 weeks of this to do yet.
Oh, it's 2.5 weeks. I thought it was just a week.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are maybe new to the show, we touched on last week's show that Joe is pumping out a lot of extra donuts due to some fundraisers a couple of our area schools are doing. And how many donuts you made so far this week, Joe? You have any idea?
No.
Too many.
I really don't. I'm numb by the time I get in there anymore. I plug everything into the computer. We just start cranking them out. My son Jeremiah and I do everything in the morning, get them all cut, proof-fried, filled ice, packed, and then I collapse at the side of the bakery.
Joe's a hard-working dude, man. He does a lot of good with the fundraisers. He cuts the schools' breaks, and it's been a pretty good fundraiser, right, for a lot of schools over the years. They seem to do pretty well with.
North Miami's having one this year. I think last year they sold 350 dozen, and
Wow.
this year they did about the same amount. And
Do you know what they're selling them for? Do you remember?
now, well, North Miami's for the junior class, so I think it has to do with their prom and stuff like that. Mechanical is doing another one at the same time, which is what the problem is. Well, it's not a problem. It just makes it hard for old people like me to get done.
Right.
But Mechanical has one going on too, and they're getting 10 dozen a day. And it's just that, and then we have all the other accounts that we have to get taken care of.
Right.
But it's fine, and once it's all done, I'll be really glad that we did it. And everyone's so nice. It's fun talking to them when they come in. And
Good deal. Good deal. Well, we got a few different topics we can touch on today. If you notice at the beginning of every show, I usually open the show and I'll say hi to Joe. He'll say hi back. We'll ask how each other's doing. So let's just even go with common courtesy to start the show, right? So I say hi to Joe, or even if we're not doing a podcast and I pop in the back of the bakery during the day, it's always, hey, Lee, how you doing? Good morning from Joe. I'm not even completely awake yet.
usually it just flips me off.
Yeah, I mean, up yours, Joe. I'm not awake yet. I haven't had any
It's
coffee
something
yet,
like
so
that,
something
yes.
along those lines. But no, I was raised to be courteous to people, to be polite, hold open doors for people. If somebody says hello to you, say hello back. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Or our parents beat us.
Correct. Go pick the switch off the tree and don't bring back the smallest one.
Right.
Bad news. But I have noticed more and more, and it just kind of irritates me when I say hi to somebody or good morning, or even if I'm in maybe a quiet situation where maybe it needs to be quiet, and I just give somebody a nice nod to acknowledge that they're there, and then they just either stare at you or walk right past you like a fart in the wind, and that just irritates the crap out of me.
You just want to tell them to F off, don't you?
Yeah. And I saw this video, gosh, it's been months ago now, and I think it was a comedy bit maybe, but where a gentleman had opened a door for a lady. I call her lady loosely, I guess. I'll use that term loosely.
She's a loose lady.
But he opens the door for this woman, and she doesn't even acknowledge him. She just walks right past. So then he grabs her by the arm as she enters the threshold of where she's going, and he pulls her out, and then he goes in front of her. And I think, that's awesome, because,
Just a thank you.
a simple thank you.
How hard is that?
How hard is it to be nice and polite to people? And I was in a classroom setting today, and I said good morning to the instructor. She looked right at me. I know she saw me. I know she heard me, and she walked right past me. And I thought,
Well, maybe she knows you.
maybe, and and I
She
get
just
it.
doesn't like
I get
you.
it when I'm in uniform. There's some people that don't like the police for some unknown reason.
That's weird.
And, sometimes I get the old California howdy instead of a hello. And for those of you who don't know what a California howdy is, that's when someone extends their middle finger in your general direction.
Oh, that's sweet.
But, you get used to that type of stuff based on what, I guess what I do for a living. But it is irritating just, in normal street clothes setting, if you say hi to somebody, you open the door for somebody, say thank you. It goes a long way, right? So, moving on from that subject.
No, hold on. I got one kind of like that. Okay, you cut somebody off in traffic.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do it on purpose.
Well, sometimes.
Okay, I've never done it on purpose.
Okay.
It's just because I'm careless and stupid and old
Right.
and I decrepit. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but I cut somebody off.
Uh-huh.
I immediately, when I realize it, I know I'm stupid and I give him a wave. It's like, I'm acknowledging I'm a dumbass, and I am very sorry that I'm a dumbass.
Uh-huh.
And so that's my I'm sorry. People will cut me off, and sometimes I've been flipped off after they've cut me off. It's like,
Right.
are you serious? I don't understand. Why are you angry when you cut me off?
Mhm.
But that happens too.
It does. And road rage, we could do a whole show on road rage, I'm sure, one day. But you're right. And that, based on what I do, you see a lot of tragic accidents, even based on road rage situations where somebody feels like somebody else has done them wrong. They've cut them off. They're driving too slow in the fast lane. Whatever the situation may be, and it gets to the point where people get run off the road or people get nervous because somebody's tailgating them, and bad accidents happen. So everybody needs to learn, just patience.
Just if you're in the car and something like that happens, have a drink. Just pull out a bottle of Jack and enjoy yourself, and that'll calm you right down.
That message is not brought to you by me. It's brought to you by one Joe DeRozier. I do not encourage anything of that sort. Let's move on. Move on from that. Something else that I notice more and more as time goes on. Last week's episode, we touched on the power of Facebook and the effects it can have on businesses and things like that. We're both kind of guilty of this, I believe, and I've tried to dwindle it down over the last few months even, is Facebook friends versus your real life friends. It's based on you being in the public's eye, based on what you do for a living, and even me being in the public's eye based on what I do for a living, and a lot of the community outreach and stuff that I've done over the last couple of years. People will send these Facebook requests, friend requests, and I know you do your due diligence too. You'll kind of check out their social media and check them out and see if you think it's even safe to entertain the idea of adding them to your personal profile or not. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. So you'll look and see do you have any mutual friends, and
you have the fake ones that.
Correct. You have the ghost accounts.
Yeah, and those are tough because I have to go through and try to figure out if they're real or not.
But you have these people that will interact with you on Facebook that maybe you kind of know, or maybe you don't know. You have your real life friends that are on there, or people you grew up with. Whatever. There's all kinds of different quote unquote friends that you have on Facebook, right? So the ones that get me are somebody that you friended on Facebook that maybe is just kind of an acquaintance that you know from who even knows what, maybe based on what you do for a living, but they communicate with you pretty frequently through social media. Then what happens if you run into that person out in public and you say hi to them, or you wave at them, and then they don't even act like you exist?
Honestly, I'm probably very guilty of that.
You're a jerk!
Because I don't remember names, and the faces on Facebook, it happens to me a lot. People will say hi to me in a store or something, and
Right.
and I've communicated with them on Facebook, and it's not that I don't like them, or I would even remember things that we talked about, but I don't always remember their faces or names,
But that goes back. So say if they come out to you in public, say you and Kathy are out at Target doing some shopping,
Right.
and one of these people that maybe you don't recognize so much, but what if they say hi, Joe?
Well, I always say hi back.
You say hi back, right?
Right, yeah.
So that's what gets me is, even, and I'm guilty of the same thing, based on what I do for a living. I interact with so many people that if I don't necessarily, I may not recognize somebody that I don't interact with on a regular basis,
Right.
And it's, I don't want anybody to take it personally. It's just, it is what it is. Same thing as you have all these people that come in and out with their orders, and if it's not somebody you see on a regular basis, you may not
Right.
necessarily remember or recognize.
Or old employees.
Right. And so I'm guilty of it too, but if I'm out running around errands with my wife or family, and somebody says, "Hey Lee, how you doing?" I know that I can tell by the look in their lights that they see that deer in the headlights look, like, man, I have no idea who this cat is. But I still try to be cordial, and I'll talk to them, ask them how they're doing, and then I'll walk away, and Sarah will say, "Well, who's that?" And I'm like, I have no freaking idea. But I at least try to be polite about it.
That's happened to you with after the donut videos, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy how much that took off. For those of you that weren't familiar with how with the donut videos.
And those are coming back, by the way. We're going to do those again.
And so basically the donut challenge was Joe gave me a free donut or two, or sometimes way more than that a day. It was supposed to be one donut a day for as long as I could possibly go. And everybody that had done this, the donut challenge prior to me, their obligation was to stop by the bakery, get a donut, and post a picture of it to their Facebook account to prove that they ate the donut. And I decided to enhance that a little bit, and more often than not, we were doing videos. I would do pictures every once in a while, but we started doing these outlandish videos, and they really seemed to take off. It's kind of crazy how much people looked forward to those on a daily basis.
Many of them ended with me throwing donuts at you.
Yeah, I mean, it was
my favorite part.
I got battered with donuts, flour, you name it. I tripped over trash cans. It was ridiculous. But, the longer this went on, the more I was getting recognized by, not based on what I did for a living per se, but
your fans.
Yeah, I guess you could call them that. But people that were entertained by these videos. And, it started off being in our local community. People would come up to me, "Hey, Lee, when's the next video?" And I'm like, "Well, we're working on it." And it got to the point where it was actually kind of stressful because people were looking more and more forward to it. And I'm a pretty busy guy almost every day with my, between work and my family obligations and everything. And
I found myself thinking about it on my off time.
Yeah.
Just saying, what are we going to do next? So that's not as good as the last one. We need to do something better than that. And
right. So it was always like you almost feel obligated to outdo what you did the day before. And
then after the ones with Russ Tussey in it, we had a hard time topping that. Russ stole the show. He's a scene stealer. He's just a scene stealer.
We'll have Russ on here one day. He's a great guy. But in any event, it's not uncommon for me to be running around the community where I'm at like now, and people will, "Hey, Lee, how you doing?" And if I don't recognize them, I just attribute to the fact that I've either interacted with them on a call out in the community,
arrested them.
Maybe that, or maybe it's been a fact of something we've worked on together, or that's the way it used to be. But then these videos, more and more people started recognizing me from the videos, and then it got to be growing from outside the community. I would go into the next towns over, and people would, I'd be in the mall. "Hey, when's the next? That's the guy from the donut video. When's the next video?" And we're like, "Oh my God!" I never intended for anything like that to happen. It was, just a kind of a public outreach thing here in our local community.
But it's fun.
It is fun, and it's goofy, and it was a way to have a good time. And yeah, it was kind of crazy how much it grew. But anyway, we're actually going to toy, I think, with the green screen a little bit today, see if we can get that figured out. Maybe start doing some videos here pretty soon. We do have the live camera we can play with, and the less that Joe and I start fumbling with these podcasts, we can start doing some video casts as well. So that'll be coming up pretty soon, I think. Joe, let's talk on a few headlines here. First one I'm going to go ahead and touch on for all the boxing fans out there, if there are any of you left. Lennox Lewis. You remember Lennox Lewis, Joe?
Lennox Lewis, yes, because he was a huge guy, and then he had that English accent, wasn't it? And it was just funny to listen to that. You expect him, you'd see him ready for an interview, and you thought, "Yeah, I'm going to rip his head off." But then he would have this very, almost like an elegant accent that he had, and it was
Englishman, right?
Right.
So Lennox Lewis wants to come out of retirement to fight Iron Mike Tyson for a payday of $100 million.
Show me the money.
And that's the other guy that when you see him, you expect a certain voice. I swear, if Mike Tyson would ever call me on the phone, "Hey, you better stop doing that. I'm going to kick your ass." I would just laugh at him and invite him over, and until I saw him, and I'd run and squeal like a little girl. But yeah, so that's what they call that, the Geritol tour. Is that what they're?
Yeah, I don't know. So let's touch on the article here a little bit. Lennox Lewis retired back in 2003. Man, he's been retired for quite some time now.
16 years.
But he is not about ready to shy away from a possible $100 million payday, even if it means getting back in the ring with one Iron Mike Tyson. Now,
for $100 million, I will let him beat my ass.
I mean, you're talking about two really prolific fighters back in their day.
Right.
And I'm not sure how old they... Okay, so Lewis is 53, Tyson is 52, so they're actually pretty close in age. But anyway, in an interview on the Joe Rogan podcast, the former 3-time world heavyweight champion said, "Well, I told people I'd take my pajamas off for $100 million. So if you're serious, come with it, baby. Show me the paper." he is ready to he's ready to get in the ring with Iron Mike.
What does Mike say about this?
Well, I'm trying to get through here. I don't know if Tyson's acknowledged this or not. I don't even know. I've not seen either one of these guys in years. I have no idea if they're even close to being in any type of physical condition to entertain
Tyson
this.
has been doing a lot of lectures and stuff like that, talking about his life and how poor he was with his money and things like that. So he might need the money.
But would people pay at
Yes,
this point in time
people
to
would.
watch that, you think?
People would pay. I don't know why, but they would. It's ridiculous, but
Well, I you're right. It would be a spectacle. I just don't know if it would be one worth watching, I guess, at this point in time.
I wouldn't.
I mean,
I
I,
wouldn't
I
pay
kind of
for it.
remember the last guy that I remember being really over the hill and still fighting was George Foreman, right?
Right.
And it was almost like watching slow motion.
Yeah,
But you better not get hit by that slow motion because it would knock your head clean off your shoulders.
He won the championship, though, didn't he?
He did.
He had the belt for a while.
But look how many
He-
belts there are in boxing now.
Oh well,
too.
yeah, but I mean, he won the heavyweight. He was the champion for a while, and
he was.
and it was kind of cool. He seemed like just such a good guy that you'd want to hang out with him and stuff.
Right.
He was almost punchy.
George
No pun
Foreman
intended.
makes a hell of a good little portable grill, too.
Yes, he
so-
does. We have one ourselves.
Yeah, so. Other headline out of Cocoa Beach, Florida. Authorities in Florida say a woman shot her boyfriend during an argument about his loud snoring. News outlets report that. Where's this out of? Brevard County Sheriff's deputies arrived after the couple's home last week and were told that the shooting was accidental. As they continued their investigation, they found the shooting happened during an argument between 47-year-old Lori Morin and her boyfriend. As the argument escalated, deputies say Morin got a shotgun and fired at her boyfriend. Deputies say the two were fighting about his snoring. The man was taken to a hospital where he was listed in stable condition. Morin faces attempted murder and aggravated battery charges. She's currently being held without bail in the Brevard County Jail.
So she missed him with a shotgun.
That's impressive. Right?
I can't really get over that because they're in the same house. It couldn't have been too much of a distance away. And thing is, he's still going to snore.
Yeah, and so last week we touched on the guy that beat the crap out of his halfway house buddy for singing Christmas carols, and now this week we're talking about a girlfriend shooting.
You find a lot of violent things on here, don't you?
I do. It just seems to naturally come my direction. So
We need some happy things to talk about.
well, here we go. I don't know how happy this is. It's definitely comical. This will probably ignite the fire between the fire department and police department guys. Out of Troy, Michigan, 20 cops are disciplined for eating their firefighter friends' snacks. An investigation into who was eating snacks from a locked pantry at a Troy fire station revealed the culprits were none other than the Troy PD officers. Troy PD posted a press release on Twitter on March 8th that explained that what had happened from beginning to end. Press release explained that historically, the Troy Fire Department has welcomed the police department officers to help themselves to the snacks and drinks at the fire departments, and to make their facilities available whenever they would like to stop by for meal or restroom breaks. And actually, all Troy PD officers were given keys, even a key fob, to get into the fire departments within the city limits. So it sounds like it's been a pretty open relationship for the PD guys to come and go and hang out with the fire department
So
guys.
I don't understand why is it an issue now?
So the issue is the fire department guys couldn't figure out why so basically what I've seen, at least within our local department, I believe, is each squad or shift, I guess, has a locked cabinet or locker where they keep snacks and food items for their shift too.
So the police had a key to their lock cabinet?
They had a key to
The fire station.
department.
How'd they get into the lock?
So what they had discovered is, based on security footage, the fire department discovered that 20 different police officers had used credit cards to pop the locks on the pantry doors to get to the snacks. The officers who were involved in the disappearance of the snacks all readily admitted what they had done and indicated that they believed they were still welcome to help themselves to the snacks, despite having to use credit cards to get in.
Yeah, they should know better than come up with something flimsy like that. But honestly, that's funny. It sounds like a college prank.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy.
When I was in the Army, we used to do that stuff to people all the time. We could get into anybody's room with a credit card or something. Over in California, we'd raid their fridges. We'd move their stuff around. It's pretty harmless. I mean, snacks, really? You're going to get that upset? Put a better lock on it.
Apparently all is forgiven. They initially took away the key fobs from all the police department officers. They've all been reissued the key fobs to come back in. And the 20 officers involved in the snack caper have been internally disciplined and are back on the street. So
The snack caper.
the snack caper.
And they've been internally disciplined.
internally disciplined.
You know they didn't get anything for that, right?
I mean, maybe they had to wash the fire trucks in their time off or something. I don't know. So here's a good one, and this is humorous to me. So, who remembers the invention of the internet and how fantastic that was, right? Back in the 90s when you started.
I'm still trying to get over it.
So I mean, I'm sure everybody remembers the maybe the free AOL discs. You could pop into your computer tower, and you could get an X amount of minutes of free internet. You just plug your phone line in, and of course, then you wouldn't have a phone. Then you'd have that dial-up connection, a little bit of static, and every once in a while you'd actually get online and you could chat with somebody.
After a lot of waiting.
Yeah, I mean it was a waiting game and a half. So obviously the majority of teenagers today weren't alive in the 90s, or they weren't alive in the 90s, so they weren't subjected to Windows 95. Did you have Windows 95, Joe?
I believe I still have Windows 95.
That's probably what he runs his business on back in the back. So a group had exposed some teenagers to Windows 95, and of course their minds are like blown because computers now are as simple as staring at your smartphone, right? Whether it's an iPhone or an Android
Right.
or whatever it is you carry. The fact that they're mesmerized by how big the computer monitors were back then.
The
How
towers.
big and bulky they are, and same thing for TVs, the big old console TVs. They can't
I still have one of those too.
I'm sure
You're
you
shocked,
do.
I'm bad.
One kid was saying, "I don't think I've ever heard a computer make sounds like this before in my life." when his parents are showing him this, and another parent showed a floppy drive. So for floppy drives were the way you save things and loaded things on your computer back then, many years ago. Now that's as simple as having a little flash drive, which is about the size of your thumb.
We used floppies when I was in the Army. Here we had these big, complicated computer systems, and that's what we used for floppies.
Yeah. It's crazy how much technology has changed even since the 90s as far as internal storage and the internet and things like that. And of course, when a 16-year-old Alicia was asked about Windows 95, she says, as in like, there's another word that drives me insane. When people say like before every word, I just want to choke them out. And my teenage daughter, one of my oldest teenage daughter especially, is notorious for
She's
the overuse of that word.
like notorious for that.
Like, what do you mean? Like, why do I have to clean my room now? Like, you just want to knock her out.
That was kind of a 70s thing too.
Man, it's so overused. Who was I talking about? Alicia, but she was even mesmerized that the computers existed back in 1995. And of course, I won't go into this quote because it says like a lot of times. And the scary part about that is when people talk like that, she's 16 years old. 2 more years, she gets to vote.
Yeah.
She gets to make decisions that she doesn't understand.
Which most of us do anyway. That never really goes away, except we won't say like all the time.
Yeah, well, 17-year-old Daniel, upon trying to log on to the internet through Windows 95, he's quoted as saying, "God, this is such a pain in the ass." Daniel, you're correct. It was. It didn't seem like it so much back then, but
No, it
would
seemed
now.
just very natural.
So yeah, I mean, kids are pretty mesmerized by how archaic, I guess, that process.
Well,
was.
imagine 20 years from now, the kids are going to be. They're not going to know what the hell what we're doing right now. I don't know what we're doing right now.
Yeah, we just make up stuff as we go along.
Well, yeah.
Kind of in more serious news, this has actually been confirmed by the FBI. This article is based out of Noblesville, Indiana. Mark Walker is a private investigator. He kind of talked to WTHR, a news station here in Indianapolis, Indiana. There has been it's a ransom phone call scam. Have you heard anything about this?
No.
Or a hoax, or however you want to say it?
No, I have not.
So he's actually been personally victimized by this. So he receives a phone call, and he believes it's his daughter because when his caller ID pops up, it shows his daughter's name. He looks down, so obviously he answers it. And he says the person on the other end identified themselves as having his daughter tied up and demanded that he listens to him very carefully. He says he's not playing around and demands that he goes to Walmart and purchase a MoneyGram and send it to him, or that he's going to kill his daughter. Walker was stunned by what he heard, and the caller continued to shout out instructions. He said, "If you call the police, I'll kill her," and he told Walker to go to his car. So Walker starts to panic. This guy's calling her from his daughter's phone, and he's thinking this person has taken his daughter and taken her phone, and he's calling her from her contact information. Minutes later, unaware of what was taking place with his father, Walker's son got a similar phone call. On his son's phone, it comes up as his dad and a picture of his dad, so he answered thinking, "Hey, it's my dad." And then this guy starts yelling at the boy, and the caller demands that he has kidnapped the dad, and he's now calling his son for ransom. So obviously they finally figure out that this is all BS, and basically he'd been spammed. So according to the FBI, the way this works is they consider this a virtual kidnapping as a coercion scheme to extort ransom payments from victims who are tricked into believing that a loved one has been kidnapped or is in imminent danger. The scam artists will pressure their victims to pay a ransom quickly before the hoax can be discovered. They rely on shocking threats and prefer to spend as little time as possible with negotiating with victims. So what I can tell you now I've not come across this as a call for myself. We get a lot of the hokey IRS scams. So
Right.
We've got,
And if you have time, that's a lot of fun.
right. And they tend to prey on the elderly, especially
Yes.
because they don't understand technology quite as much.
Right.
And they'll say, "Well, you owe $5,000 in back taxes, and if you don't send me 10 money orders from CVS for $500 a piece within the next 24 hours, we're going to send the sheriff's department to you, and they're going
Right.
to take you to prison." And
Right.
obviously, none of that stuff is true. None of that stuff would happen. And for those of you that aren't aware, if the IRS is ever coming after you, they're going to send you certified mail. They're not going to call you from some spoofed number. So
And if you do talk to them, they tell you their agent number, badge
Right.
number,
So-
names,
a
everything.
little bit of common sense goes a long way with that stuff. But so basically, if something like this would happen to you or a family friend or a loved one, the ideal thing for you to do is obviously not buy into it right away. Don't get too panicked. There are so many ways for spammers and spoofers to fake numbers.
Now, if that dad would have called his daughter's number,
Right, so that's what I was going to suggest is if, say April, you would get a phone call from April, and April's phone, your daughter would pop up, and then you get this conversation on the other line. Let's be honest, you're at the bakery more often than not.
Right.
My recommendation to you would be to go ahead and keep that person on the line.
and then grab my
Maybe
bakery
mute that,
phone.
maybe mute it from your end or something, grab the bakery phone and call April and see if she answers. If she does, it's BS, just hang up, okay?
Even if it wasn't BS, my daughter April, I would feel bad for the kidnapper.
She would kick the tar
She
out of
would
him.
kick the crap out of him. I wouldn't worry about her too much.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate because most of us in today's age, if we see a blocked number, restricted number, or even just a phone number that we don't recognize, we won't
Don't
pick
answer it, no.
up. We touched last week as most of the conversations anymore that with people we talk about are through text message or Facebook Messenger or something along those lines. You very rarely use a normal phone call, it seems like, anymore. And that's part of the big reason why for me is, God, you can't even now you can't even trust that, if you see my wife's calling on the other end, maybe it's not even her anymore, you know what I mean? So
Right.
it's out of control, all the spoofing and spamming, and
That
it's
though
ridiculous.
you could use that because my wife would call and I could not answer it, and later on, well, why didn't you answer my call? Well, I didn't know if it was a spammer or something. Otherwise I would have, sweetie. I love you.
Yeah. So just, try and use a little common sense. If you would get one of those disturbing phone calls, try and keep your composure, and by all means, get to somebody, sure, hopefully you'll be around somebody somewhere that's got a phone to where you can try and contact the loved one and make sure that they're okay. We'll go ahead and move on from that. Here's one that's going to be interesting to touch on. This was posted on March 12th. That the Indiana BMV is now offering a driver's license with non-specific gender options. The Indiana Bureau of Motor Vehicles is now offering driver's licenses and state ID cards with non-gender option for residents who don't identify as a male or female. Indiana law requires every application for a driver's license or an ID card to include information about the applicant's gender. Residents can now choose the third option of X instead of the traditional M for male or F for female. Geyer says the applicants must present documentation that proves a permanent gender change, such as an amended birth certificate or a doctor's statement. A doctor's statement. So if you're a certified doctor, how can you say that this person isn't a male or a female?
I refuse to comment on this because I will not be politically correct. Did you say later on we can say whatever we want?
Say what you want now. I don't know why this doesn't have to be a politically correct podcast by any stretch
I
of
think it
imagination.
does because we've already gotten a little flack on stuff. So I think maybe, should we wait till someone's actually listening to us and then
There's
I
people
can
listening.
voice my opinion?
There's people listening, so listen.
Okay, I think it's effing stupid. You're a guy, you're a girl. It's not that hard. It's just not that hard. Why are we trying to make everything so freaking complicated? If I were in high school and they started saying, well, if you identify as a girl, Joey, then you are a girl. Well, then I would identify myself as a girl, and I would be in the girls' locker room all the time and in the girls' bathroom. What are people trying to prove? I understand there's gay people, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you're a guy or a girl. Just deal with it, please.
This self-identifying nonsense, it's getting worse. It seems like almost by the day, okay? If I'm going to identify as something, I would like to identify as a retired multimillionaire living on a private island somewhere away from all of this insane madness. But I'm pretty sure that that's just not going to happen. So, basically here it is, folks.
But you could be an old woman. That's okay.
I guess. Give me a freaking break, okay? You're born one of two ways. You're born with a penis or a vagina. You're not born with an X over your crotch, okay? So you're either a boy or you're a girl, and it is what it is.
And there's exceptions to every rule. Some people, I'm sure there's deformities, there's things that happen.
Right.
So I don't want to see that on Facebook.
But medical terminology, you're born with a certain type of what they call chromosome, okay? Yeah. That is your genetic makeup, and there's no unknown chromosome in your body that says we don't know what you are when you're born as a human being.
Yes, and if you need a sex change, if you want to go that way, whatever.
Yeah.
But right now, when you go for your license, you're a boy or a girl. When you go to school, when you're going to the bathroom, you're a boy or a girl.
Right.
It's just not. It's not hard. Who starts this crap? Where did this come from? Why is this an issue now? The human race has been around for thousands of years, and suddenly we don't know if we're boys or girls.
You see these different comical things on social media. I enjoy seeing throwbacks to like the gangster era of days.
Oh, yes.
The way the real gangsters, even though they may have been piece of crap human beings, they dressed to the nines.
They did.
They were manly looking men, and now you look at the gangsters, quote unquote, from today who. Give me a damn break. The way they dress, okay? Can you imagine if
they can't pull their pants up?
Some gangbanger went up to I don't know, Jimmy Hoffa, back in the day, and he's got his pants down below his butt cheeks, and he starts popping off to Hoffa or one of his crew members. That wouldn't have ended well.
You gonna do something or just stand there and bleed?
I don't know. And when they aimed their gun at people, they aimed it the correct way too. It wasn't none of this sideways nonsense. And
what is that for? Why do people do that?
I guess they think it looks cool. I don't know.
Well, I didn't know that was cool, but
I don't know. It's even if you look back at that generation back then, and I kind of look at how my grandparents grew up, and I've seen a lot of pictures of my grandfather when he was a young man, and he was always dressed nicely. Mm-hmm. Even if he had no money, he still dressed as best as he could.
Right.
And with shirts and ties and slacks and dress shoes. They may have not looked great. They may have not looked new, but he still did his best to represent himself well.
I've seen old pictures of different businesses around Peru, And there was one at Blue Cigar Store, was where the Aromas is right now.
Okay.
That was an old cigar store. And it showed a picture of somebody going in there to buy cigars. And the guy behind the counter and the guy buying the cigars are dressed great. They look fantastic. I thought, what happened? And I'm just as guilty. I'm more guilty than anybody. But I work a lot.
Right.
And when I'm at work, I have my sweats and my T-shirt on. I'm always dirty and flowery and cinnamon and stuff like that. When I get out of work and I get home, I work out, I do some stuff, I shower, I put on sweats and a T-shirt again because honestly, I'm just going to go to bed and get back up and go back to work.
Right.
But boy, what happened when everyone looks so nice and so professional? And we actually talked about that for a while. I have an extra storefront, and we were going to open it up. And that's what we're going to do. It's going to be a throwback, and everyone is going to dress up. Everyone is going to be polite. It was going to be I don't think it really mattered what we sold. Because I think people would have just enjoyed going in there. And, it saddens me a little bit. But, back in the day, the old Gangster and stuff like that stuff's neat. I love looking back. I mean, I'm sure in real life it wasn't so cool, but, seeing the old pictures and old movies with them and stuff.
Right. So, people took pride in their parents back then, and I understand what Joe's saying. And obviously, life evolves, right? Things change, times change.
Right.
Remember, we were even talking about how much technology's changed over the last 20 years or so. But you look back at pictures, not even necessarily gangsters, but just people in general dressed so much nicer.
Mm-hmm.
They took pride in their appearance, no matter how rich, how poor, what kind of day they had.
Right.
When they were out in public, they dressed nice.
Right.
Now today, you can go to Walmart and see people with their damn pajamas on, no bras for some of the females, no underwear. And it's some of the most disgusting and disturbing things. They haven't taken a shower. I mean, you could be 10 yards away and you can smell them, and you're thinking, oh my God, let's hope that they go to the section at least where the soap and shampoo is and buy some of that for themselves.
Or you buy it for them and drop it in their cart.
Drop it in the cart, right? This one's on me. If you don't have any running water, I'll get you a couple jugs of water too, and please utilize this a little bit. So,
but even church.
Yeah.
You go to church and I mean, heck, when I go to church, I dress up by wearing jeans.
Right.
But it used to be, I'd have never gotten away with that growing up.
Oh,
My
no
parents
way.
would have never let me
No
wear
way.
jeans to church.
It's amazing to me, and I've been to a lot of Joe and I both grew up Catholic, and man, oh man, you dress to the nines when you were growing up and going to church. Shirt, tie,
Right.
slacks, whatever. Even if you didn't wear a tie, you were still wearing a nice dress shirt, and slacks, dress shoes, all that good stuff.
Or you were going to hell.
Yeah, man, and you go to church now, no matter. I've gone to different churches over the years with different friends and family members, and it's crazy to me when I see people in there wearing shorts and grungy looking T-shirts, and
Mm-hmm.
and I guess I don't really care. At least you're there,
Right,
You're there.
right. I don't think God's mad about it.
Everybody should be there for the same reason.
He wore his robe, didn't he? Didn't Jesus used to
Yeah.
wear his robe there? So I'm sure he's not mad. It's just different.
It's just different, It's kind of strange to see. But touching back on, I see a lot of these memes now, and they crack me up. The man bun. Right, the man bun.
I actually have a friend that has one, and he pulls it off. I don't want to make fun because I'm sure he can kick my ass, so I'm just gonna drop it. I'll let you talk about that.
So man bun, I don't understand these. I don't really get it. You talk about guys back in the day, I guess, where they have the slick back hair or nicely combed hair along with their.
Mr. Bogart, is that a man bun you're wearing?
Here's one of my favorites, Joe. I'll go ahead and pull this up to you. There's one of your heroes, Clint Eastwood, right?
Clint Eastwood, yep.
It's okay to say that a guy with a man bun is pretty. Bitches love being called pretty.
He kind of looks like Russ Tussey in that, doesn't he? Put a bunch of wrinkles and black and white picture of Russ. I see Russ there.
Yeah. Here's another good one. Man buns. They're the millennial mullet.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not gonna say this one. I'm just gonna share it. Just share it. I've seen several versions of this.
You can't say that.
I'm not gonna say it. Here's a funny one of the president. Somebody just made up.
President Trump is sporting a bun in that. That is hilarious.
If you guys just go to Google and type in man bun meme, you'll see some of the things we're talking about. They're pretty funny. Some of them might offend some of you. I don't know. I don't care. If you think if you're offended easily, don't type it in there. If you like a good laugh, go to Google, type in man bun meme, and the rest.
So some of these guys are pulling it off.
Yeah.
And the women like it, so I'm not judging.
I am. I think it looks ridiculous. And
Okay, you judge.
get a damn haircut
I'm
already.
staying out of that one.
So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up things today. We've had a good time doing these so far. We are getting a little bit more comfortable with each episode we do, so we'll probably start trying to live stream some content here pretty soon, and we are going to start working on the green screen stuff too.
We'll probably actually talk about what we're going to talk about beforehand when we do the live stream, though, right?
Nah.
Okay.
So, all right. So we'd like to thank everybody for listening, and we will see you guys in about a week.